Welcome to Vital Life Stories, where we explore the hidden meanings behind ordinary moments and the profound connections that shape our lives. In a quiet corner of the bustling city, there lived an elderly man named Mr. Wilson, known for his gentle smile and routine. Every single afternoon, without fail, he would walk to the local park carrying a small, weathered wooden chair alongside his own cane. It was a strange sight to see an old man hauling furniture through the streets, yet he moved with a determined purpose. He would find his favorite bench under the old oak tree, carefully place the wooden chair beside him, and simply sit down. He did not sit on the wooden chair himself, nor did he use it for his legs. He just let it stand there. Passers-by often stopped to whisper, wondering why an old man would bring furniture to a park that was already full of benches. To the casual observer, it seemed like a sign of senility. But for Wilson, it was a necessary part of his daily existence. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, yet the ritual remained exactly the same, becoming a permanent fixture of the park. Even when the cold winter winds blew and snow covered the ground, Wilson and his empty chair were always there, waiting patiently. When spring returned and the park filled with laughter, the silence around his bench seemed to grow even louder and more profound. He would often rest his hand on the back of the timber frame, as if feeling the presence of a ghost beside him. Many people wanted to ask him about the chair, but something about his solemn expression made them hesitate and keep their distance. He seemed like a guardian of a memory, protecting a small space in the world for something that only he could see. Decades ago, this park was the meeting place for Wilson and his best friend Henry, where they shared their dreams and fears. Back then, the benches were always full, so Henry would bring his own chair from home just so they could sit together. Henry was the charismatic soul who could turn a boring afternoon into an adventure, and Wilson was his loyal and steady companion. That wooden chair became a permanent part of their friendship, a witness to countless conversations about life, love, and the future ahead. But life is rarely static, and one fateful evening, Henry announced that he had to move across the country for his family. Before he left, Henry gave the chair to Wilson, asking him to keep it safe until they could one day meet again. That was many years ago, and although letters were exchanged for a while, eventually the communication stopped, leaving only silence behind. Yet, Wilson continued to bring the chair, honoring the promise he made to his friend and keeping his memory alive every day. The chair was not just a piece of furniture. It was a physical representation of the space Henry held in Wilson's heart. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the grass, the symbolism of the chair became clearer. He believed that as long as the chair was there, the possibility of Henry returning remained, keeping the door of friendship open. One afternoon, a young boy named Tommy, full of curiosity and energy, stopped in his tracks to observe the unusual scene. Unlike the adults who walked by with averted eyes, Tommy marched right up to the bench, his eyes wide with innocent wonder. He stood squarely in front of the old man, pointed a small finger at the wooden seat, and asked the burning question. "Excuse me, sir, but why do you bring that empty chair here every day when nobody ever sits in it?" Mr. Wilson chuckled softly, a sound like dry leaves rustling, and looked at the boy with a warmth that had been missing. He began to tell the story of Henry, explaining that this chair was a reservation for a friend who might one day return. He explained that true friendship does not fade with distance, and that keeping a space open is an act of deep loyalty. Tommy listened carefully, absorbing the lesson that was far more valuable than anything he had learned in school that day. But then, Wilson's voice grew softer as he shared another secret about the chair, one that he had only recently realized himself. He told the boy that the chair was not just for Henry, but it was also a sign that he was welcome. "It signifies that my heart is open, not just to the past, but to anyone who was willing to stop and sit. The boy's eyes lit up with understanding, realizing that the empty seat was actually an invitation for connection in a lonely world. With a shy but hopeful voice, Tommy asked if he could fill the seat, just for a little while, to keep Wilson company. With a gentle nod from Wilson, Tommy climbed onto the wooden chair, his feet dangling but his smile reaching his bright eyes. And so, the empty space was finally filled, not by the ghost of the past, but by the vibrant energy of the present. The people who walked by no longer looked with confusion. Instead, they smiled, witnessing the beautiful beginning of a new and unexpected friendship. From that day forward, the chair was rarely empty, as Tommy would rush to the park after school to share his day. They shared stories, jokes, and silence, bridging the gap between generations and proving that friendship knows no age or boundary. Wilson found a new purpose in mentoring the boy, while Tommy found a wise grandfather figure who always had time to listen. The wooden chair, once a symbol of waiting and loss, had transformed into a beacon of hope and a gathering place. Wilson knew in his heart that Henry would have been delighted to see his old seat being used to build new memories. Life has a mysterious way of weaving the past into the present, turning our deepest voids into spaces for new growth. As they watched the sunset together, the silence was no longer heavy with absence, but filled with the comfort of companionship. This story reminds us that true friendship is not limited by geography, time, or age, but lives in the open heart. It teaches us that while we should honor those who have left, we must also remain ready to welcome those who arrive. When it was time to leave, Tommy insisted on carrying the chair back, sharing the burden that Wilson had carried alone for so long. They walked back towards the city lights together, a touching silhouette of a legacy passed down and a future being written. The streets that once seemed long and lonely to Mr. Wilson were now filled with the chatter and energy of his new friend. Back home, the chair sat in the hallway, no longer just a relic of the past, but a promise for tomorrow's adventure. Wilson looked at Henry's old photograph and smiled, knowing that his best friend would be proud that the chair was full again. We all carry empty chairs in our lives, spaces left by those we loved, but we must never close our hearts completely. For in the serendipitous moments of life, a stranger might just be a friend waiting to sit down and share your journey. So look around you, cherish the memories of the past, but do not forget to make room for the miracles of the present. May your life be filled with deep connections, cherished memories, and the courage to let new people into your sacred spaces. Thank you for watching Vital Life Stories. Remember to keep your heart open, for the best friends are often just waiting nearby.